Hello there, Facebook people and YouTube people and all the internet people. Welcome back to Mike's Magic Auto Detailing and Paint Enhancement. Just gonna catch y'all up right quick like. I finished this side of the hood today. Came out very nicely. I'll move these rags so y'all can get a quick look at it. Those are some very plush microfiber rags. I don't know if y'all remember all those scratches that were in there. Hey, Actress Queen! Oops, there's a smudge right there where I put my hand down a while ago, but all those scratches have all but disappeared, and you can see, well, I didn't get that, but I removed all that tape that was on there, and I took this tape, that's a pinstripe right there. Hey, sweetie, where are you watching from? Where are you watching from there, girl? I can't remember where you're at. Tell me where you're at down there in the comment section for me right quick. Hey, Miss Linda, just catching y'all up. Y'all might remember that's a painted on or very intricate pinstripe. I didn't want to damage it, so when I did the hood, I had it down, and so when I got ready to do this part, I moved it up. Hello, hello. Where you at? Where you at, Miss Queen? Where you at? You are a queen, no doubt about it. But I took that other tape off, and instead of having it from the top part of the pinstripe down, now it's on the bottom of the pinstripe and up. And when I take it off, more than likely, though you're not supposed to have to, I'll probably have to use a little bit of 3M adhesive remover to wipe that residue off. It's not a big deal. And as you can see, when I got ready to work on this, I taped that off. That's just a crevice right down through there that I taped over so I wouldn't get residue down in there. And I ended up on this one having to use my rotary, which is okay, because I have a dual action polisher that has, hey Stephanie, that has a small 3-inch pad on it, but I don't like it too much. It's real old. It doesn't work very good. So what I did was took the 5-inch backing plate off of my dual action, turned the speed down on it, and put a 3-inch polishing pad on it. But as you can see, I don't know if y'all can really tell it, but this comes down, it's curvy right here, and it makes a real big curve right there. Conyers, Georgia, my hometown there for a long time, but now I'm in my original hometown. The house I'm living in here, when I was a little kid, was a watermelon patch. Belonged to a Mr. Slaughter, and he used to pay me a little bit to come help him get up watermelons. And now it was a little farm, and now the whole farm is a subdivision. And this house where I'm at right now was the first house. But y'all can see how curvy this is right here. So even with the 3-inch pad, and I'll show it to you a little bit here in a minute. Hey, Miss Glenda, even with that small pad, you know, the pad goes in here pretty good, but the head of the buffer, you couldn't fit it in here without risking marring the paint again. So what I did, some clever person came up with what they call an extension for your buffer. And you can see that little 3-inch pad I got on there, so that you can get in here and all these little curves, and you're not putting the head of the buffer in close to the body and the paint and risk scratching it or banging it, or even yet the backing plate on that's the backing plate on the buffer hitting something and really messing it up. So you're a way away. And I have another one that's even longer than this one, probably twice as long, but I haven't used it yet for anything. So I buffed all that right there. Took about an hour. So now that I've done that, and that was a black Lake Country polishing pad, very soft, very unaggressive, but there weren't that many scratches in here, so I didn't have to get too aggressive. I did end up in that area there having to get out my 3000 grit sandpaper and sand it down a little bit to try to get rid of that scratch. But and there's some bad clear coat, I don't know if y'all can see it right in here, that I'm not going to be able to do anything with. It's just a defect. It's just too deep, and I cannot do anything about that except maybe put a little bit of clear coat restore over the top of it, but then you'd have a hard time blending it in. I'll probably just leave it like it is, and when the owner comes to look at it, I'll talk to him about that and see if he wants me to try. But I hesitate because this paint job's over 10 years old, which means the clear coat is hard as a diamond. Thank you. Oh, I see that. I didn't see you said good job, Mike, a while ago. It's getting there. It's getting there. Slow but tedious. But yeah, now I could take this tape off here altogether, get rid of it. And what I'll do on that tape, there again, me and the air compressor. The problems of live Facebook. Y'all see this tape right here? I just put that over. There's some bubbling up and turning loose paint there, so I put that over as to remind myself and to protect it, not to buff over the top of that. There's nothing I can do about that. But this tape here that's over this little crack, see what I did is I put it on this edge, the top edge of the crack. So now that I'm getting ready to do this fender, I'm going to have to take it off and reposition it so it's from this edge up, if y'all follow what I'm saying, because I don't have any thin enough. I went to the store today, I went to the body store, and they didn't have any of that real thin stuff, and that's okay. You just adapt, right, Miss Glenda? You just learn to adapt. But this fender's kind of dirty right now from me working on everything else. I'll wipe some of this stuff off, but you can see a lot of scratches on this fender. A lot of scratches, but they're not too bad. But some of them are kind of deep. But see, there's a spot right there. I can see the scratching in there. Can you see that, Miss Glenda? I'm not sure what that's from because there's some odd looking scratches. It may be from that cat that he said kept getting in the garage and climbing all over this thing. That cat did a lot of this scratching, but the previous detailer and whoever washed it numerous times also did a lot of scratching. I think it's a combination of those, but I'd say 80% of that is going to come out, Glenda. But see, that's what we call the fingernail test. When I drag my fingernail over it, I can feel it with my fingernail. It kind of catches on it. That tells me it's not going to wet sand out. It's not going to buff out. But we'll see. I'll probably do a little bit of wet sanding in the areas like this, and then go back and compound it, and then go back and polish it. So that those scratches right there are like a 3-step process. And then when you get done, you buff it all off, look at it and say, wait a minute, I can do it better. Or no, that's as good as it's going to get. And if you think, well, I can do it better, then you just basically start all over again, and you do those 3 steps over again. So you go, you know, these areas of heavy scratches, you just kind of go section by section by section. And on a car this big, whew, takes a long time. And this is curvy too. I don't think there's a flat spot on this car. I think every damn bit of it's curvy, which is attractive. It was very stylish, but for detailers like me, boy, it's a pain in the butt. And what I wanted to do is, let me take I just had this rash where they put in a modern electric antenna. There was an antenna there, but they did that hole. They Frenched it. That's what it's called, Glenda. But look, I don't know if y'all could see this in the camera. Of course, it's scratched, but you can see where they built up this little area right here. Made a little raised two little raised wings right there. That's kind of cool. That was some tedious body work right there too, I'm telling you. But over time, a lot of scratches there as well, as you can see. So I'll have to see if I can polish that up. And well, there's some down on the sides, but not nearly as bad. But just a quick catch up, and I wanted to show y'all this gadget, this extension here, what somebody come up with. Pretty damn, you know, people are pretty daggum clever these days. I'm gonna put this down here. But normally without this extension, see, this is way up here. So when you're in those tight spaces, you have to be careful your backing plate doesn't hit the car, because it's spinning pretty fast. Yeah, I think on the slowest speed it's like 900 RPMs or something like that, and it'll go all the way up to like 6,000. And you can really screw something up quick if you let this hit the paint or anything. Plastic, rubber, whatever, it's just going to eat it up. So this is pretty clever. And like I said, they did make another one that's even longer than that one. But I haven't needed this one yet. And anyway, that's what they look like off the buffer. They just go on there. It doesn't take just a minute to change it. And obviously, whoever buffed his car before didn't bother with stuff like that. My guess is they probably had a buffer, a big one. I've got 2 or 3 big ones where the pads are like 8.5 inches in diameter. Now that's okay if you're like doing a big old truck with a lot of flat spots, but on cars like this you cannot use a, well, you can, but you're going to leave all these markings and stuff like what's been left on this one. That's why you have to graduate down, which slows you down because you're only buffing a 3-inch area at a time, which means you're not getting the full 3 inches. You're lucky if you're getting half of that, Miss Glenda, half of it. So it slows you down. In a car this big, you can imagine how long it takes to get it done. Or on some of these big old pickup trucks that I do, it's time consuming. And this paint job is so old. It's been on here for over 10 years we know of, and it's very, very thick. Has several layers of clear coat on it, which is good and it's bad, but it's gotten really, really like diamond hard over the years, which means it's very difficult to work with. But since it's so old, you have to be careful, because even though it's thick and it's really hard, in a lot of places, like on the top of the curves and on the ridges and that kind of stuff, or along trim pieces, it's really fragile and weak. So you have to be really careful. And you don't want to chase perfection for that very reason. You can see right there in this, catching this light just right, there's still some scratching there that I did not get out from whatever. I suspect that's buffing marks from a big buffer where they just turned it up to get that. And when they did, yeah, they shined a little bit, but they left that marring in the clear coat that we talk about. And those don't look like much, but they are actually pretty deep. So I'm not going to chase that and try to get it perfected. I've buffed on it as much as I dare to. Anyway, I just wanted to catch everybody up. I appreciate y'all watching me and keeping up with me. If you feel like it, hit the like button or the thumbs up or whatever they have on Facebook Live to help me out a little bit. Wait a minute, who's in this picture up here? Oh, I see a guy and a girl. Is that you, Miss Glenda? I can't tell. It's so little on this phone. I can't really tell. I'll go back later and look at it and fill it out. Looks like a guy on the right and a girl. I can't tell who that is. Oh, Teresa Calhoun. How you doing, Miss T? I'm just finishing up. Mr. Robert. I'm just showing everybody how I just finished this area here. Getting ready to start on the fender, so I've got to reposition my tape to accommodate this. Of course, I'll be taking that off of that pinstripe because I'm done with that area up there. And I was showing them, I'm sure, Teresa, you probably could care less. Maybe John might like, I'll show you what I ended up having to go to, because it's so curvy in there, you couldn't get, even with a 3-inch backing plate and a 3-inch pad, you really couldn't get in that curve because the head of the buffer was so far down. So what some clever individual came up with, John, I was showing people a few minutes ago, is a extension so that you can get down in these places like that, and the head of the buffer's not getting dangerously close to the car. And I've came in a set, and there's one that's probably at least twice as long as that one too. A real clever device, and they are not expensive. So if you're using a buffer, a rotary buffer, if you're using a rotary buffer, you should probably definitely want to consider getting one of those. I think it was like 20 bucks, 15 or 20 bucks or something. So it's not going to break the bank to have those in your toolkit. Okay, folks? All right. And what I've been using today with a slightly more aggressive pad is some really good stuff. This HD speed, they call it. It's 425. It's a one-step, but if you use a more aggressive pad, it does a really good job when all you have is surface marring, and you don't have to go back and do a polish after that. So it's good stuff. I keep it in the arsenal. Matter of fact, I ordered I think about a gallon of it the other day, whatever that biggest one is they got. So because that bottle there is about gone. Done so many cars here. All right, folks, thanks for watching. I'll give y'all another update later. It'll probably be tomorrow. Well, it's almost 6 o'clock now. I try to make it a rule not to work past 6. It's just my own personal rule, because I don't want to get in a hurry and all that kind of stuff. Oh, Richard, man, some more people snuck up on me here. How you doing, buddy? It won't let me page down and see who all is watching. I don't know about all this. Oh, Pat Welch is watching. Hey, I saw Amy go live a while ago, Pat. I don't know what she's doing. I'm live myself, so I can't break off and go watch her. Hey, Miss Stephanie Ross, how you doing there, sweetie? I was just showing everybody all about getting in that little curvy area there. Of course, I taped off that pinstripe, and this just covering up the crack. I don't want all that residue, and protect those edges with the tape. And I showed everybody else, Pat. But, you know, when you're doing those little curvy areas like that, you have to drop down to a smaller backing plate. That's a 3-inch. But even with that, without this extension on there that you see, you know, because normally the pad and all would be way up close to the buffer, you know. So you're getting the head of the buffer is in your way when you're trying to get in those curves. So some clever person came up with these extensions. I have two. The other one's twice as long as this one, if not more, so that you can get in there in those curves and little spots like that. Like down here, it was really tight, you know, getting in those curves. So that helped keep the head of the buffer away. And if you have a rotary buffer, I'd say, and you buffing cars with it, you need a set of these. It's $15 or $20, so it's not going to break anybody. Good. Some clever individual came up with a great idea there. Okay, folks, I'm done. If y'all have any questions about how to go about this, how I go about it, what products you might need, what materials you might need, so forth and so on, any question at all, just put it in your comments below or message me, private message me, and I'll be glad to answer any questions I can. See, this is, you know, lint from the rag. Everybody says, oh, my rags don't lint, but they do. All of them do. I hadn't had a microfiber rag yet that didn't lint some. Isn't that right, Steph? Anyway, those are pretty expensive ones. You can see how thick and plush. There's no, they're what they call edgeless, so you don't scratch the paint when you're polishing off and removing the residue from whatever product you were using. These particular ones are from Luxury Microfiber. I order them. They're relatively expensive, but not overly so. But if you're going to be doing detailing at this level, You absolutely have to have those, because the cheap ones you get at your local part store, Walmart, Target, any of those places, they are not nearly as good as these are for the final polishing on your car. Trust me on that. Ain't that right, Mr. Ron? You can't use those cheap microfibers for taking off this wax and stuff like that, and the residue from the polishes and compounds. You've got to have some towels like this. It is if you don't want to scratch your paint after you've already polished it up and you have to go back and do it all over again. Okay, folks, I'm out of here. Bye from Sharpsburg, Georgia.